Today I'm going to show you a squat mobility routine you can do in 10 minutes.
Get up and get down, get up and get down.
Hey guys, thanks so much for stopping by the YouTube channel. Today I'm joined by Olympian Chad Vaughn, and we're going to show you our favorite squat mobility routine that everyone can do, and notice what we don't have on our feet. I want you to do this routine barefoot. Now we're going to walk you through this entire routine. It basically goes back and forth between a squat variation and a mobility drill. So we're gonna start today with our heels elevated. We're just using 2.5 kilo illegal plates. Basically, you wanna find just a smaller plate to elevate your heels a little bit. And what we're going to do is grab a plate. You can use a goblet squat with a kettlebell or even a dumbbell if you don't have many plates available to you. And what you're gonna do is set your feet relatively straight forward. So exaggerate your foot position a little bit and then squat all the way down. Now you're gonna hold this bottom position here for 3 full seconds. Try to go as deep as you can, and if you need to put the plate out a little bit further, that's okay. That's gonna help you have a little bit deeper squat with your chest more upright. Come back up. Now, today I'm just gonna demo 3 of these for a full 3-second depth. And at home, what I want you to do to start off is 10 repetitions. So come back up, 1 more, push the plate out in front, 1, 2, 3, and then come back up. So that is step 1 is going to be 10 for a 3-second hold. You're gonna come over here. Our first mobility drill is a box ankle stretch. You're gonna find a bench, a box. You're gonna elevate your foot on top. Make sure your knee is moving directly in line with your lateral foot. You don't wanna come in and stretch into a bad position. From here, you're gonna grab the box or even push your chest into it. Drive your knee as far forward as you can. Again, over your lateral toes, trying to mimic the position that we want to see in the bottom of a deep squat. And this should bring out a really good stretch in the back of your calf Achilles area. You want to hold this for 10 seconds. You're going to do 5 of these. Again, our goal is to improve mobility and flexibility without really decreasing our power production that we can get out of those muscles directly after with our workout. So again, we're going to keep our duration of our stretches low to just about 10 seconds. It'll be very, very helpful. So again, 5 for 10 seconds of these, and then we go on to part 2, which Chad's gonna demo here.
Yeah, the next squat variation we're gonna use is just a support squat. So get a squat rack. If you're using a squat rack like this, typically I would want you to weight it down a little bit because I really want you to be able to pull into it, and you're gonna see that here in just a minute. I'm gonna put my feet about my foot width away from this upright. So I'm gonna measure that around about a foot, your foot. I'm gonna put my feet in my squat stance. Sometimes I'll exaggerate that. In general, I want people to exaggerate their feet from where they normally squat because more people than not squat a little bit wide, a little bit toe out, and a lot of times that's due to mobility restrictions. So if you can exaggerate your foot position a little bit, that's gonna help gain more mobility, improve your squat, get a little bit of a better position. In general, for example, if your feet are normally here, maybe you bring your feet in 1 inch on each side, you turn your toes in about 5 degrees from where you normally are, you're gonna push your limits and you're going to get a little bit of a better stretch. But once again, about a foot away here, my feet are in my squat position. Once again, I can maybe even turn my toes in to exaggerate that if I want, but I'm gonna use this for support as much as I need to as I squat as low as I can. And then I'm gonna reach low on the upright and pull my hips forward. And I'm not able to pull real hard on this, but I want you to get something, a pull-up rig or something like that, that you can really pull your hips as far forward as you can. That's gonna allow you to be more upright. I want you to be aware and feel that your ankle is at its in range. So I don't want you kind of drifting back like this with your toes off the ground and your shins vertical. If you've got that mobility, we need to stay further forward than that and keeping the shoulders directly on top of the foot. We're gonna typically hold this for 30 seconds within this sequence. You can hold it a little bit longer if you like as well.
Cool. All right, so now that we're having our next squat sequence, we then go to our next mobility drill.
Another mobility drill. Yeah, this one goes along with the ankle drill that Aaron showed you, or any other ankle drill that you're gonna use. And typically we wanna do a tibia rotation drill after you've already worked your ankle, okay? This one we're gonna use a box as well, putting our foot up here in the same way. I'm gonna take my arm, my left arm, I'm stretching my left leg, and make sure that it's inside of that knee, okay? We don't wanna be here, but inside of this knee. I'm gonna use this hand to keep the base of my big toe on the platform, to keep my whole foot down, make sure that that tripod is engaged. I'm gonna hold here to make sure that my heel stays down, starting with my shin relatively vertical, In this position, I'm gonna engage my glute, squeeze my glute to push that knee out. If you're doing this correctly, you should feel it in your glute, okay? So I'm gonna hold this for 5 to 10 seconds, release, out, hold it for 5 to 10 seconds. Again, we can do 5 to 10 reps here. Now, to progress this a little bit as you go, you can go a little bit further forward with your knee and do the same thing. Trying to keep your body as square as you possibly can through this whole process. And again, holding for 5 to 10 seconds on each rep. Of course, we'll do both sides typically, or not typically, but always. And then we'll go into the next squat once again.
All right, so now that you're done with the tibia rotation, we're gonna come back, grab your plate again. Again, we are heels elevated, and you're gonna go through another 10 repetitions for a 3-second hold in the bottom position. So again, set your feet in that exact sort of over-exaggerated position, and then plate out in front. 1, 2, 3. And notice how Chad and I are both sort of opening our hips up a good amount as we squat down. Still keep your full foot completely planted, but you want to really focus on squeezing those glutes, opening yourself into that bottom position. And one more just for the demo. 1, 2, 3, back up. Now that we have that squat sequence down, we go back to our third mobility drill, which Chad's gonna demo.
Third mobility drill is what I call a hero-ish pose. So it's a yoga pose similar to a hero. You're gonna get down on your hands and knees initially. This is actually gonna stretch your tibias a little bit as well if you do this correctly. Ankle extension too, but mostly we're working on bending the knee, how much you can bend the knee and stretching in that regard. Now, first of all, you're gonna put your big toes together where they're touching. You're then gonna open up your heels as much as you can. If your tibias and your ankles are tight, you might not be able to do this a whole lot, so just do the best you can here. Knees are gonna be together in the front. If you've never done this before, make sure that you ease back into it and set your butt between your heels as much as you can, okay? So typically, I'm gonna hold for 60 to 90 seconds here. And if you're, I don't wanna say comfortable, but if you're somewhat comfortable, or if you get used to this position, we can add load. Aaron, can you grab me a kettlebell? We can add load with a kettlebell or a bar on the back. We're holding a plate in front to add a little bit of load to assist that stretch, to assist that position, all right? Once again, 60 to 90 seconds. One thing that I regularly do or assign with this once people get used to load is I will have them hold here for 30 seconds, hold with more and more weight for 30 seconds, and then finish with another 30 seconds there. Just another quick note, if you are lacking range here, if you're tight, maybe you've had a knee surgery or something like that, one thing that I've found beneficial to help with range is to put a PVC pipe in the back of the knee and then just set on that. And and so what I would do there is just do one leg at a time. Again, 30 seconds over here, take it out, and then 30 seconds to finish even.
Perfect. And just a side note for that, this is also a great stretch for anyone who's dealing with some shin splints, as it's really gonna hit all those muscles on the front side of the shin. So now that we're done with that, we go to the fourth mobility or squat sequence, which will again be the support hold.
Once again, I'm gonna set my feet a foot width away from the upright, ease down. Once again, I'm making sure that I'm at the in range of my ankle, pulling my hips forward. Another point here that I'll say while I'm in this position is disengaging the quads. So I don't want you holding yourself up here. That's not gonna give you any stretch at all. You need to be at your in ranges in the ankle and in ranges of the knee.
And the big thing to really point out with this one as well, if you have a little bit of butt wink, if you have a little bit of rounding in the back in this position, it is okay. Again, our goal is to really try to open yourselves up and explore those deep positions. Again, with no load, a little bit of rounding the back is not gonna be the worst thing in the world. As we're trying to improve mobility, that should decrease over time. So
yeah, I'm glad you said that, Aaron, because I've found a great drill to help someone learn that, because you can get down there and really learn the coordination of the position. The coordination of the position is disengaged here, sitting in the bottom, not holding yourself up, but creating as much pressure here as you can. I can have that pressure because I'm used to that position. I've got good mobility without thinking about it. But for a lot of athletes, you need to exaggerate here. Think about disengaging your quads. You might need to exaggerate opening your knees up as well. But when you can figure out that coordination, it's either going to limit or take away any butt wink that you might have in that position, especially if you're working in combination back and forth with mobility that's meaningful to you.
Very true. All right, now that we're done with that, we're on to our last mobility drill, which is going to be a banded joint mobilization for the hip. Now, here's how you're going to perform that. You're going to get this band really up high into your hip, really hike this up as high as you can. You're then going to get a lot of tension on this. Now, get down to the ground quickly with this, guys, because it will often, if you're trying to walk out too far, it'll just pull you over. Now, a banded joint mobilization for the hip has two parts to it. Step one is the mobility of pushing into hip internal rotation. Now, in this position right here, if I push my knee across my body, I'm moving into relative hip internal rotation. If someone's dealing with a hip impingement, this will create a little bit of pinch right here. If so, get a little bit more tension on the band and it should remove it. But I'm going to push into the mobility of more hip internal rotation. You're going to take a deep breath out and try to relax your lower body muscles as much as possible. This should bring out a slight gapping sensation in your lateral hip if you're doing this correctly. You're gonna hold for a couple seconds, and then you're gonna bring part two into this drill, which is hand onto the floor, drive the knee out to the side, and squeeze your glute as hard as you can. So you're prying open into more of this open hip external rotation position. You're gonna squeeze your glute as hard as you can for a couple seconds, and then cycle back. So again, we're going to hip internal rotation mobility, and then down into external rotation strength and stability, priming your body neuromuscular wise to engage those lateral glutes and open the hip in this flex position, which is the bottom of the deep squat. So you're gonna cycle back and forth between that 10 times. And then we go to the very last of our squat sequence, which is taking away our supports. And we're just gonna do our goblet squat, 10 of them for that 3-second hold, but this time without the supports. So down, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and the very last one for our demo. 1, 2, 3. There you go. Now, it's important to understand that this is just an example of different mobility drills. If you find that you have very specific mobility needs, for example, your hips are great, but your ankles need a lot of work, what you can do is go back and forth between those squat sequences and the mobility drills, but just do the mobility for the ankle, go back and forth. So you would have 2 rounds for the ankle box stretch or the tibial rotation, or you can even add in things like a banded joint mobilization. So again, there's a lot of freedom of movement within this that you can plug in what exactly you need. But again, we're going basically mobility drill, squat sequence, going from the raised heel, pulling ourselves into the exaggerated position and going back and forth. Anything else you think we should add to this?
No, I mean, I just love the general concept of it. You know, if you're someone that has, you know, you feel like you're lacking mobility in a lot of areas, this is a great sequence to go through using the exact drills that we used. But also, like you said, you can switch them out for those individualized ones. But we're basically starting at the ground and working our way up on those mobility drills. And we're using progression as we go through those, the different squat variations. So
there you go. And again, barefoot, get out of your weightlifting shoes. All my Olympic lifters and CrossFitters, spend some time on the ground and feeling for your balance and exposing those problems that we often don't even sense or are aware of because we're always in shoes. Hope you guys enjoy the content that we just brought out. Please go and follow Chad on YouTube. He's got a ton of great information. If you have any questions for us, let us know in the comment section below. And subscribe to the SquatUniversity YouTube channel if you're enjoying the content that we're putting out. Until next time, guys, happy squatting.
They say that energy flows where attention goes, so I pay no mind. Why waste my time with all these negative cats scratching? So caught up in their egos, these people have lost.